I recently discussed the New York City luxury market with Bess Freedman, Chief Executive Officer of the real estate firm Brown Harris Stevens, as we reviewed the year in New York City real estate. Take a listen.
It was a challenging market for sure. It's been a little bit slow. We had a little bit of a push in the second quarter because people were trying to close before the mansion tax hit in July. So that was good, but it was a slow year, steady. We probably are very similar to 2018 as far as numbers go. So it's been a slow sort of decline. You know, the market has kind of been doing this, and we're in a correction environment.
So how much are they going down?
You know, they have slowly been adjusting. I would say roughly it's been about 10%, give or take, but it depends. If you've been an overpriced co-op on the Upper East Side by 30%, you know, then you obviously need to come down 30%. Some sellers have been totally off the mark, and some sellers are more realistic. They realize that the market is in a different place. It's no longer a seller's market. It is completely a buyer's market. And if they want to sell, they have to be realistic, or their apartment is going to linger, or their home, townhouse, whatever it is.
Are we starting to see a bottoming out, or is the pain going to continue through 2020?
I think we're starting to see a little bit of a bottoming out, but the issue that I see for 2020 is that we're in oversupply mode in New York City. We have a lot of supply, and so when supply is here and demand is here, if they don't intersect, it's slow. And so right now we have a lot of product to sell, and buyers are taking their time because they can pick and choose.
The supply, though, is not throughout the entire market. What price point are the extra apartments?
You know, that's really hard to say, but I can tell you for resales, you know, resale listings, not new development, we'll separate that. Roughly, the listings that we have are valued at, in the marketplace of New York City, $19 billion of resale listings versus 2014, we had $14 billion worth of resale listings in the marketplace. That's just all together. That could be one bedrooms, that can be, so it's a mix, but that just shows you that there's a lot of product. We've had an increase of roughly 30%. So buyers now, there's so much to choose from.
How much is New York City emblematic of a weakening more broadly throughout the country when it comes to property? And how much is this a very specific issue having to do with overbuilding and having to do with the SALT tax and some other issues?
I think it's really more specific to New York City because other areas, if you look around the country, are pretty healthy. There's actually not a lot of supply, and the market is pretty healthy. The economy is good and all those things. The numbers look good. Rates are great. But New York is specific. The SALT, the cap on that deduction really impacted us. People moved out. They went to Florida. And now we have all this looming, you know, legislation in Albany that's really going to hurt our market. So that concerns me.
All right. You were talking in particular before about one legislative provision. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, there is a pending pied-à-terre tax. And a pied-à-terre tax, which what a pied-à-terre is, and I'm sure everybody knows this, is someone who lives in New York City part-time. This is their second home, their third home. And we have a lot of people who have homes here but don't live here full-time, right? They don't pay income tax, but they pay all the other taxes because they don't live here. This pied-à-terre tax would tax them annually at an incredible rate, and I don't have the exact numbers, but it would be very egregious, and it would deter people from buying here and owning second and third homes. Now, we did a little bit of, you know, study of this and looked into it, and roughly there's $1 billion annually generated from pied-à-terre homeowners in New York City. That being said, that means millions of dollars in taxes for the city. That means thousands of jobs for the city.
So understood that the real estate and the developers and just brokers in general are anti, right? And homeowners as well. They're against this.
Yeah.
Okay, on the flip side,
yes,
when you talk about what this would do to property valuations, if this legislation does go through, are there any estimates of how much it would reduce valuations of you know, apartment buildings or commercial real estate in the city?
We don't have any estimates of that, but back to the actual pied-à-terre tax, is that they think it would generate something like $650 million. We think much less, like 250 to 300.
What about in Miami? I know you also focus on Miami. What are you seeing there?
You know, Miami has been a pretty decent market because a lot of people have left New York, unfortunately, and moved to Palm Beach, moved to Miami. They find Florida to be this sort of safe haven. So people don't want to be in New York because they want to, you know, avoid the taxes. And I understand that.
I think about people buying these, you know, beautiful houses right on the beach in Miami. And I'm wondering, how concerned are they about the fact that we occasionally get hurricanes and things like that that wipe out the entire property?
I think there's definitely people who are concerned about it. I mean, I would have some trepidation about that. But, you know, people you only live once. They want to have these homes. Who knows what's going to happen?